Good morning, everybody. This is John. It is the third full week of January 2020, and this month we continue talking about meaningful and lasting change. Last week I talked about how to become an A person, one habit at a time. This week I want to talk about organizational change and improvement. One of my favorite articles comes from Harvard Business Review. If you can Google this, put this in: Why Leadership Training Fails and What to Do About It. Corporations are victims of the great training robbery. American companies spend enormous amounts of money on employee training and education, $160 billion in the United States and close to $346 billion globally, but they are not getting a good return on their investment. For the most part, the learning doesn't lead to better organizational performance because people soon revert to their old way of doing things. So this is back to last week's message. People don't change that much, and organizations don't change that much. Let's dig into some of the numbers that might communicate why this issue is what it is. Gallup says that only 30% of employees are engaged. I like to say, or call that, coming to work with your heart and your minds. Gallup says that 70% of people show up for a check. I mean, they do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, but their heart and soul is not in it. Something like 65% of people at any given point in time are looking for the next job. Now, SLS has done these surveys around the world. We've interviewed over 3,000 people, and we asked them three simple questions. Is there such a thing as a bad boss? Is there such a thing as a person who's a good manager but still not a leader? Is there such a thing as the kind of person who manages and leads inspirationally? The answer is yes. And then we asked them to think about the last 5 people that they've reported to and to put them into those 3 categories. So here's the percentages that we've ended up with consistently, no matter where in the world we are, what level of the organization we're talking about, or what industry it is. 25% of managers at any level of the organization are considered to be bad bosses. 45% are considered to be mere managers, and only 30% are considered to be inspirational leaders. Now that's very interesting. Gallup says that only 30% of employees are engaged, and our research shows that only 30% of managers at any level are inspirational leaders. Well, there's the match. The reason we have 30% of people fully engaged is because they report to an inspirational leader. 70% of employees are disengaged because 70% of managers don't know how to lead. Now, as Harvard Business Review has pointed out, a lot of organizations do a lot of leadership stuff, but we have no more leaders on a percentage basis than we used to. As a matter of fact, there's reason to believe it might even be less. So here's our approach to that. Most of these programs are designed to change a performance or an aspect of performance. For example, here's how to have a difficult conversation. Here's how to be more nimble or innovative. Here's how to deal with an underperformer. Here's how to have a difficult conversation. Well, improvement in performance is fine, but they skip a couple things that are essential. The first thing they skip is a process of change. Last week we introduced that, the 3 C's of change. You've got to have a process with a measurement component and an accountability component, or the change isn't going to stick. After the change process comes positive psychology. If people do not change the way they think, then their performance isn't going to change in a meaningful and lasting manner. They've got to change not only what they think, what they believe, and how they see things. After you change how people think, then you have to look at behavior. Trust is a big issue. Google that one time. What percentage of employees trust their bosses or trust their organizations? You can build and improve character. You can create a workplace that is more trusting than it used to be, and trust is a two-way street. So if you want to improve performance, if you want to improve results, of course, performance has to improve. But before you can improve performance, you have to have a change process that works. You have to have a new psychology, a positive psychology, and you have to work on behavior first, because without trust, nothing else matters. So if I've got some information on this subject, I'd be happy to share with you. John at simpleleadershipstrategies.com. Drop me an email and I'll send you a recap of these key points. So have a great week. We'll talk to you next Friday.